morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of day it is for all of our listeners out there. We just want to thank you all for continuing to join the Now That You Mention It podcast. And thank you for coming and lock with us. This is Roll, Jay, and RJ.
I'm Roll.
I'm Jay.
And of course, I'm RJ. To any new listeners, we want to start by saying welcome and thank you for giving us a chance. You can check us out on YouTube right here on your visual format by clicking that like and subscribe button and clicking the bell so that you can be one of the first to get notified whenever newest content drops. And for those of you who, may be on the go or don't have time to check us out visually, we want to ask that you check us out, whether it's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, or Podbean. Please hit that follow button, turn on notifications, and leave us a rating and review if you can. Go find us on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, and Reddit by typing in the Now That You Mention It podcast and hitting that follow button. And if you just want to make it easier on yourself, go ahead and check out our website at nowthatyoumentioned.org, where you can conveniently find all of those links on one page and just click the little logo and you'll be taken to that platform's page. Also check out our merch where Jay has conveniently set up, hats, shirts, all the things of that nature.
Yeah, we're using it to fund the Soviet army. So,
yeah, and start up the Now That You Mention It crypto. Be on the lookout for that. So, hey, how are you, boys?
Are we gonna use?
We're gonna use Wishbone as.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're gonna use Wishbone as the logo.
No, after last episode where you said I would be the face, I already started developing a coin. So,
oh, good Lord!
I'm just.
Well, hey guys, before we get out, we're doing well. I'm doing well anyway. Been a long, crazy week. Looking forward to, the 4-day weekend. Well, 3-day weekend. But before we really get into tonight's show, I want to throw out a shout out to one of my high school buddies. His name is Greg Bennett. He's a very, very consistent listener. Has left comments on a number of our episodes.
Nice. What's up, Greg?
Greg, yeah. What's up, Greg? Greg works over at Swearingen. So he's in the real estate business like me. I'm sure much more successful and making a lot more money, but
I thought they made swear words there.
But all love and respect. So, what's up, Greg?
Yeah, what's up, Greg? Thanks for all the support.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, well, since you're our first shout out, RJ has agreed to wash your car for you.
I don't know about all that, but thank you for checking us out, Greg. I definitely appreciate that. What I was going to say, though, is since it is Memorial Day weekend, going into the weekend at least, I do want to give a shout out to, all those people who have passed away, given their life serving for our freedom. Obviously, things like this would not be possible without them. So, I know that people love to think of it as a, 3-day weekend, but obviously there's a reason we celebrate this holiday. So just want to make sure we recognize, all those people who have, given more than we could have asked for.
Right.
In
made
order
the
to
ultimate sacrifice. Absolutely.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. Thank you for your service, to our great country here.
So how are you boys doing?
Doing good. I like your dad said it was a nice, crazy week. We the wife and I took a little road trip this week. Decided, I needed a break. She needed a break, and we decided to drive down to Galveston. Spend some time at the beach. Drove over to San Antonio for one day to check out an exhibit on Frida Kahlo at the Botanical Gardens over there. It was very, very interesting. And it was a lot of fun, but it reminded me of some of the irks of road tripping.
Oh yeah,
Galveston's part of the Houston MSA. Am I mistaken? Or?
No, yeah. I wore a bulletproof vest the entire time I rolled through Houston, just to make sure. And as I was driving through downtown Houston, I made sure to flip the bird over there, so they knew who I was.
Damn.
Almost makes me wish I had one of those like light bright looking message boards on the back of my car that I could just write Houston sucks and scroll it along.
I think they would have ran you off the road.
Yeah, no kidding.
How? There was so much traffic they couldn't do anything. It's not like they could force me anywhere. We were going 2 miles an hour.
Wow. So tell me, how was the coast? Was it crowded? A lot of people out there?
No, it was dead. And to be honest with you, it was because we chose to go on a Sunday, Monday, Tuesday night. So I'm figuring we missed the weekend crowds because we got there Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
And Monday, Tuesday, it wasn't a holiday, so my wife was kind of like, she was kind of same thing. I can't believe there's nobody here. But like I told her, I said, you know what? I think that Memorial Day weekend, these beaches will probably be crowded, but for the most part, plus it was rainy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because this last week and a half has been a tremendous amount of rain. So I think the weather probably had it been real sunny and bright and warm, there might have been a lot more people out at the beach.
What's funny is, like, we prepped for that. We got an umbrella. We already had chairs, the portable chairs that we could take with us. We took our ice chest down to the beach and stuff like that. And so we went down there. We were actually going to go to a place called Crystal Beach. That's on the peninsula. No, it's off the peninsula. It's on the island over there. So we had to get on a ferry with a car and take a ferry ride over to the island. And we drove over to the Crystal Beach, and it was horrible. I mean, it was dirty, small, seaweed everywhere. I mean, it looked horrible. It looked like a hurricane had just rolled through. So we decided to head back to Galveston. The Galveston beaches were much nicer than I remember. I haven't been to Galveston in a hot minute. But they were a lot nicer than I remember them being the last time. And when we got there Sunday, we took a walk down on the beach, and it rained a little bit, sprinkled. It wasn't anything heavy. And it was funny. So Monday, we actually spent most of the day at the beach, and it was cloudy all day. It was not sunny, and it didn't rain once.
Hey, so did you wear now that you mention it, Speedo?
No, I did not wear them. I wore my now that you mentioned the hat. I didn't wear the Speedo. The Speedo stayed locked up. But it was
maybe that's why the beaches were empty when you had your
Damn.
Well, the thing that kind of blew me away is that when we were trying to book a hotel, it seemed like all the hotels were booked. I mean, we wound up staying at the
Hilton.
No, it wasn't the Hilton. It was the La Quinta, and it was the one that's right on the beach. It's literally like right across the street from the beach.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was okay hotel. It wasn't anything immaculate or anything like that.
Right.
But it was right across the street from the beach. It was literally walk out of the parking lot, cross a light, and you were there at the beach. So,
did you say immaculate?
Yeah, I did say immaculate.
Oh, okay.
Yes, sure. Immaculate vibes. But so we spent a lot of time driving around the peninsula there, up and down. Took a couple of shots to a couple of different places just to check it out. The ferry ride was fun. My wife swears she saw a shark. So apparently Jaws was following us on the ferry.
No, that was Houston. They actually probably sent a trained shark.
A robotic shark or something.
Was that Haha was following me?
Yeah,
that's what it was.
They were hoping maybe you'd stick a foot in the water and they come and lop it off.
All in all, our time in Galveston was very relaxing. I mean, the day on the beach was, we actually went into the Gulf there, into the water, and it got up to our chest. And I mean, that's the most I laughed in a very long time. Because we were just trying to fight the waves because it was windy and the waves were very harsh. I mean, to the point where, The guards were driving up and down the beach, basically telling people who were too far out that they needed to get back in. But no, I mean it was a lot of fun. And then we spent a couple of days in Galveston. Then we drove over to San Antonio, which you remember we used to go to San Antonio a lot when we were kids. It's still the same, hot, muggy. The river's still that murky green. You don't know if there's anything floating in there or not. But we stayed at a really nice hotel on the river.
Where'd y'all stay?
No. It wasn't on the main river walk. It was actually, what's funny is it's actually further up the river, and it was like one of the only hotels in the area because everything else was apartments. We were kind of shocked as we were walking up and down the river that there were so many apartments along the river there where people were actually living there, and it looked like kind of like the Katy Trail. People were out walking their dogs, jogging, walking around, pushing strollers, and so we actually took a short drive over to the main Riverwalk area, but everything was kind of closed down, and they're still doing COVID stuff over there, so it was kind of actually disappointing.
Really?
Yeah.
Because my wife and I were in San Antonio maybe a month ago, maybe just 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was packed.
Maybe it was because again, we were there on the middle of the week. It was a Wednesday.
Yeah.
A Tuesday night, Wednesday, morning kind of deal. So, middle of the week, maybe nobody was around, but it was really not that packed at all. It was kind of crazy how dead it was. And so we went down to the Mercado, but the Mercado was closed. Like they're closed on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. So,
I could see that.
So there was really nobody around there. We went into, what's that restaurant down there that has the panaderia?
Mi Tierra.
Yeah. Oh God, so disappointing.
Why is that?
Well, because it was just like it's so dead. We walked in, there was no service. There was a couple of people waiting. So we decided to go maybe just sit in the bar area and try to have a drink. But we walked in and we're just kind of looking around, trying to figure everything out. And there was a waiter and a bartender kind of standing at the bar looking at us, having their little conversation. Never said hi, never said, hey guys, have a seat wherever you want. We'll take care of you. Nothing like that. And when we finally walked up to the bar, like, do we sit wherever? And they're like, yeah, have a seat. So we grabbed a seat and bartender came over and didn't even bring a menu, just kind of, what do y'all want? And, my wife's like, can we get a menu at least? And so, the girl went back to the bar, got a menu. It was like it was so much pain for her to have to go get a menu, and that we were.
They could probably tell that you were a poor tipper. We're like, this guy's
I take care of the servers who take care of me, baby.
Well, they probably knew. They probably might have seen a couple episodes and knew he was going to come on here and
probably start ragging on San Antonio next.
Yeah, regardless. Yeah, So
no, you know what? Actually,
San Antonio. I'm sorry in advance.
I don't mind San Antonio. San Antonio doesn't really bother me. It's just that we went so many times when we were kids that it's kind of meh to me. I mean, how many times have we been to the Alamo?
No, you can only do that so many times. I mean, I think the last time I went was because Annabelle was, she was coming into her age of cognition, if you will, and it was a good experience for her. But you're right. After you go so many times, there's just not really much new that you can do there. Have you guys ever gone up in the tower at all? Looked at the
No, we haven't.
I don't think so.
I don't think I've ever been up there either, but I can't imagine it's too much different from Reunion Tower. I mean,
no, I mean, the general experience is relatively the same, but it's still, it's a different, just to get to see the skyline, you get to see
I've been up to Space Needle in Seattle,
Dome, and all that, huh?
I've been up to Space Needle in Seattle, and I've been Upper Union Tower here, so I'm assuming it's not too much different from that.
Okay, just trying to throw out some other ideas.
Yeah, I mean,
You're basically saying San Antonio's boring.
yeah, you're
Oh,
basically.
boy.
I mean, honestly, you are attacking Houston. I mean, San Antonio, just the same way you do Houston.
Well, and
so.
there's only so much Tex-Mex you can take too. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it seemed
I
like
get
every
you.
restaurant there was Tex-Mex. But while we were road tripping, there was a couple of things that kind of. Now I know that you both have been on road trips, and I'm sure there's a lot of things about the road trips that irk you, like they irk me.
Mhm.
But here are
So-
some of my.
So another
Oh, yeah.
rant from JJ in back-to-back weeks. Let's hear it. I'm all for it.
All right. So first thing first, all you new people moving to Texas from California, from wherever you're coming from. I know that when you move down here, there's that urge to want to go get you a big old pickup truck because you know that you think that's a Texas thing to do, right? So it was amazing the amount of
The
Ford
amount of truck you got for
Two-
the money.
250s and Ford, F-150, and the Dodge Ram King cabs and the dualies and all that, and you can tell who the Texans are and who they aren't, because the Texan can probably back that thing out of a parking spot, with one hand over the driver's seat, smoking a cigarette and drinking a Coors Light, no problem.
There you go.
But if you have to make multiple moves to back your pickup truck out of a parking space, your truck's too big for you. That's bottom line. I can't tell you how many people I saw that were trying to back out and back up. Let me check the clearance on the front end, move up a little bit, back up a little bit more, move up a little bit more. Have you guys ever seen Austin Powers in that scene where he's trying to back the golf cart in that
And he gets
in that
stuck.
hallway? Yeah. And he
Yeah,
keeps
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
move forward and backwards to turn it. That's what
Yeah.
some of these people were like. It was ridiculous.
Well, and I agree with you in general that an experienced pickup truck driver can do that. I mean, if you've driven with our Uncle Matt at all, you know that guy could have a cup of coffee, have a cigarette,
A cell phone, drive,
driving.
and him with a 5-speed. It's not even
exactly.
automatic.
Yeah,
Shifting
without
gears,
missing the gear,
shifting gears with his elbow and driving with his pinky.
It was just like just watching an artist at work, man. But with that said, I do know that here recently, there's this phenomenon that's been going on in real estate where we have been compressing parking lots and parking spaces because especially where it's more dense in the urban parts of Dallas, or really even in other cities, you're allotting so many spaces that are really supposed to be they were designed and meant for compact cars. And yet, because we still drive big vehicles here, especially pickup trucks or even sport utilities, I think that just the way the cities are demanding enough parking spaces, and these architects and engineers that are designing these parking lots to maximize the number of parking spaces to meet parking requirements, means that they're putting in a lot of, smaller size compact spaces. And then you got the guy who's driving that dually that's basically says, well, hell, I can't find any other parking. He's going to pull in. He's going to take a parking space and a half.
Yeah.
And so I agree with you. If you drive a big pickup, you should know how to handle a big pickup, especially in tight spaces. But with that
That's
said,
all I'm saying.
I agree with where you're going, Dad.
But what I'm also saying though is it's becoming increasingly difficult to navigate some of these parking lots just because they are designed so tight that turn radiuses are, compacted as much as they can. It's almost comical. We went to a Home Depot where it has a big parking lot, where it has a big,
where a lot of pickups are going to be.
Right, exactly. And, again, some of these monster sized pickups, one guy parked. I mean, I bet the tail end of his pickup was 3 feet in the drive aisle.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, if you're going to drive, and the unfortunate part was he parked all the way at the front. So as traffic's trying to go up and down that
Aisle.
lane,
Having to get around him.
yeah, they're having to get around him. I said, man, if you got a vehicle that big, you should have parked all the way at the back. What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a discrepancy between having too big of a truck and the parking aisles just being too small. I mean, the reality is they are trying to jam pack, as many parking spaces into these sites nowadays as possible. So, I mean, it's a case by case situation to some extent because, even like my apartment complex, I can generally pull into my space, my designated parking space with one turn. There may be a couple times where, I'm a little lazy and, not giving it my full attention where it may take me 2 turns, but, I also don't drive the biggest truck possible either. But I do know there are, certain parking spots where even in my wife's car, which is just a sedan, I feel like I'm a little tight. And, it's to some extent, my preference is I'd rather move out to where nobody's parked at.
Yeah.
And, have that little extra space, even though I might have to walk a little further if I'm in, an uptown or downtown setting. Just because, I don't want any extra dings on her car or on my truck, whichever vehicle we're in.
Yeah.
It's just those parking spots do seem to be getting, tighter.
Yeah, and I can tell you too. I mean, back to RJ's point. I mean, I think it's also that people have gotten, for whatever particular reason, have gotten a little bit lazy or inconsiderate, and some of them park right on the line.
Oh yeah,
right. And so even when you park your car appropriately, you're still squeezed because you can't really open your door. So then that forces you to move over some.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of compounds so that by the time you get towards the end of that aisle,
the worst are the places that either don't have parking lines or the parking lines are so faded you can't see them.
Oh, yeah.
Or where the hell ever they want.
Quick score update. Mavs up 8-0.
Oh wow.
I love it. I love it, man.
Kawhi's checked out, baby. We're gonna talk about that a little bit later. But
yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, so
second thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So driving through the great state of Texas,
mm-hmm.
and you guys, we're born here, we're raised here. What is the big three of Texas? People always talk about, especially on the road.
First of all,
people drive
to
the
left-hand lane only
for
passing.
I mean, big three as far as like places in you see everywhere in Texas.
Oh,
especially in South Texas.
Buc-ee's.
Yep.
Did you say South Texas?
It's primarily in South Texas, but.
Do you mean? Well, hold on. I mean,
HEB.
HEB. Yeah.
And Whataburger.
Yeah.
Right. Big three. Okay. Yeah. So we
Corpus Christi's own Whataburger.
Of course, we on the way down there decided we need to stop at Buc-ee's. I had to get some gas. Mm-hmm. Buc-ee's boast and rightfully so the cleanest bathrooms anywhere, which their bathrooms are ridiculous, dude. How palatial their bathrooms are. Mm-hmm. And the first Buc-ee's that we stopped at was packed, dude. And I mean packed. People, people are out in force and no masks. That was a big thing. But my rant about Buc-ee's, for all you people that decide to go to Buc-ee's, first and foremost, okay, the gas pump is not a parking space. All right. So don't park at the gas pump, go inside the shop, and then come pump your gas 20, 30, 45 minutes, an hour later. Let's be a little considerate. Pump your gas, go park, and then go inside and do your shopping or whatever you're going to do. But like, that first day that we were driving down, it was actually raining, and there were tons of people trying to get gas, and gas pumps were at a premium because everybody was trying to get gas. And man, you'd pull into a lane and there'd be cars, nobody there, and you'd sit there for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, nobody's out their car, they're inside shopping, and at that point I was like, I just want to stop and I just want to get some gas. And I was considering up to when I was able to finally get to a pump my gas, I paid at the pump, pumped my gas, and then pulled into a parking spot so we can go inside and peruse to find where is it Buc-ee's. So all you Nimrods that decide to park at the gas pumps, let's get on with life, buddy. We got things to do.
Well, it's unfortunate, that I agree with you. That happens quite more often than, we would like to think as Texans we're considerate of each other, but let's be honest, it's a pervasive problem everywhere. Unfortunately, I think that too many people we don't think about other people. Now, and I hate to say that as a Texan because we pride ourselves on being friendly, on being considerate, but I have noticed the same thing, that even if you go to a Quick Trip, which is, kind of the
Buc-ee's Jr.
Yeah, Buc-ee's Jr., if you will. I mean, they're usually the best in category here. Now, when Quick Trip first really was opening here in Dallas, well, in Texas in general, but in Dallas, I remember their restrooms used to be immaculate. Their restrooms used to be clean, but more and more and more, they're getting just as nasty as everybody else's restrooms, number one. But I also see the same thing going on where people come park at the gas pump and then go inside. And sometimes I've even seen people just park at the gas pump, go inside, go get their convenience store items, come back out, get in their car and take off and not even pump gas.
Yeah, it was the worst. I was getting so frustrated. And my wife, she's like, she went inside to go use the restroom, and I said, well, I don't know how long we're going to be parked here. And so, I was finally moving from pump to pump until I found an open pump, pumped my gas, and dude, it was a nightmare. And I feel like, especially the way Buc-ee's takes care of all their customers and things, maybe they should have somebody kind of park there at the, working the gas pumps and say, hey man, there's a time limit on this gas pump. If you can go park in the parking space and go inside and shop. I don't know how that would work, but man, it was frustrating. To sit behind a car for 10 or 15 minutes, knowing that somebody wasn't going to come out, and then trying to move to another pump when there was so much traffic trying to get into these pumps. Now you're trying to get out of this madness that you're in just to find another pump that's open.
And what's frustrating is those Buc-ee's have anywhere from 40 to 50 pumps or more. So they have that many pumps and not be able to get people in and out efficiently is fairly frustrating. Again, because you're right, Jay. Once they walk in the store,
once that speaks to the greatness of Buc-ee's, man. Once they get inside, they're like, "Oh my God, I'm in Shangri-La over here." Because where else can you get deer corn and chopped brisket sandwiches at the same time?
Beaver nuggets,
and you could buy what do you call wood burning stoves? You could buy
cast iron skillets.
Fire pits.
You can buy so much
all
there.
kinds of camping. You can buy camping equipment.
Buc-ee's is awesome,
coolers.
There's no doubt about it.
The extra large fuel, what do you call fuel carrier? The tank.
It's definitely on the Mount Rushmore of Texas.
No doubt.
Legends. Buc-ee's, Whataburger.
Yes. Sorry, guys.
What? Are you watching the game?
Kristaps hit a 3. Yeah, I got it in front of me. Of course. I mean, Mavericks don't mean to partake from our current conversation because I know we're going to talk about them later. But
and I just
the game in real time.
So you need to do something to get HEB up here, dude, because this is ridiculous that we can't get a HEB in Dallas.
Well, it's not. Believe me, bro. There are plenty of quality developers that have tried.
Yeah.
HEB truly marches to their own drum.
Their own, yeah.
They actually own probably a dozen locations, land tracts already strategically placed throughout Dallas Fort Worth. They just haven't built. In fact, they have announced an HEB,
Two in
that
Frisco
are coming,
and in McKinney.
right, and then they have one that's in Mansfield that was supposed to be built.
Yeah.
So we know that HEB has locations already picked out, but the big question is when, if ever, are they going to build them? Yeah. They have some really good corners tied up, and they come in with saying, "Hey, yeah, we're looking to develop in 5 years." Some of these land tracts have been vacant for 10.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's anything anybody can do to convince HEB to move forward except whoever their internal decision makers are.
Yeah. Because right? I mean, the nearest one that I know that is to the DFW area is the one in Waxahachie. And
yeah, they have one in Burleson. They have one in Waxahachie.
Yeah. I'm not driving all the way to Waxahachie to go to the grocery store. I'm sorry, HEB. And, they do have the Greatness Essential Market over here, which is owned by HEB. But, again, it's so far out of my shopping range. It's over off Lovers and Greenville. I'm not going up there to shop either. Right. And it's more gourmet items anyway.
The Central Market, from what I understand, the Central Market concept is programmed or slated to be built in Oak Cliff at some point.
Because dude, we've supposed to been having a what do you call Whole Foods down here forever, and that hasn't happened either.
No, but part of that, bro, is I think that's going to change sooner rather than later because the population is changing in Oak Cliff, and a lot of these retailers, for whatever reason, they don't value the Hispanic community as importantly as they should.
Nope,
they don't. Which is
like a Food Savers and a freaking Jerry supermarket next to us. That's about it.
I understand, bro.
Even Fiesta pulled out.
I completely get it because that's our business, and I used to work for a shopping center developer, and it was always a constant struggle when you would have conversations about some of these pockets with some of the grocers. And it's really, if it wasn't a Fiesta or it wasn't a La Michoacana or it wasn't a El Rio Grande or an El Rancho, it was almost impossible to get anybody to really focus. You have Tom Thumb right there on 12th Street. But it's an old store and it's a small store, right?
It's a very small store.
And a lot of people that live in Kessler Park and Stevens Park and even north Oak Cliff, I hear a lot of people who say that's not really a good Tom. Not that it's a bad Tom Thumb, but it's not what you would expect.
Yeah,
a Tom Thumb. And
because we live in one of those pockets because right here at Hampton and
in West Dallas,
Singleton. Yeah, Singleton and Hampton, there's that big shopping center that's right there on the corner where the Fiesta used to be.
Yeah,
it has a big, a decent sized grocery store location, but the best they could do is, Save Now or whatever, that off-brand
Cash Saver.
Cash Saver. Yeah. We're in that pocket to where that's the closest to us. Jerry Supermarket that's over on Singleton is another option, but again, that one's old and outdated and small. So we have to either drive, under over the river, over to, to the Medical City District to go to Kroger,
and don't think that the developers that are the landlords that buy those properties don't think they don't try. They do try. They do try to talk to the Krogers. They do try to talk to the Sprouts and the Whole Foods but usually those guys are either very slow because it's not their core customer, or B, they just flat out say, we're not going to go there. Yeah. And so for the same reasons, They do a lot of analytics. They look at price points. They look at household incomes. They look at so many. They look at so many things that they use as metrics to really evaluate a site, and they just say, well, the people that live here are not our demographic. They don't make the household incomes that we're comfortable in. So they don't move. And unfortunately, that HEB is the same way. HEB actually, which is frustrating because HEB, you look at them in Houston, right?
San Antonio.
All over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, they
have Hispanic versions of their grocery store.
Exactly. Very blue collar. Yeah. So they would do fantastic here, but for whatever reason, they haven't pulled the trigger on any sites inside of Dallas Fort Worth proper.
HEB store bought flour tortillas are the best, man.
And I think that's what's I guess
that's debatable.
Damn.
Look,
I'm not going to argue that. I mean,
you could go to Supermercado, and there's one not too far from you, Jay. It's right there on Westmoreland.
Yeah,
they make their flour tortillas fresh, and it's good quality.
Oh, yeah.
I know your problem is you're too lazy. You don't want to go that far. You're kind of
that's a little much for me.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Topic number 3, road trip talk. You guys kind of already touched on this, and I kind of split it into 2 separate categories. But for all you non-Texans that are moving here and getting your first taste of a Texas summer and traveling within the state, that speed limit is just a suggestion. Okay, it's not an actual speed limit. If it says 75, you're okay to do 80. If it says 80, you're okay to do 85. You're fine. Most cops tend to look the other way. Hell, most cops are breaking the speed limit.
They're going faster than you.
Yeah. But yeah, those are just suggested.
Well, so most of the time,
really, that's what I say is that's the speed limit for when it's raining. You know what I mean? Like,
oh my gosh,
that's when I go 60. You know what I mean?
The reality is, you should always try and stay with the flow of traffic.
Yeah.
So if the flow of traffic in general is driving 75, 80 miles an hour, try to keep up. And if you have no intention of doing that, get your butt over to the far right-hand lane.
Yeah. You people that are doing 55 on the highway, y'all are living in another time, brother.
Well, but sometimes
you're more dangerous than the people who are speeding.
But
hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
Sometimes, bro, I try to pay attention to who is driving slow. And there are a number of elderly drivers out there that are still driving. And to some degree, you could argue, hey, they probably have no business driving on the freeway.
But what if they don't have anybody
to
help them out?
So sometimes I'm a little bit more understanding. Where I get frustrated is when traffic is flowing at 75 miles an hour and you got the knucklehead who's driving 60 and you pass them and you can see the reason they're going 60 is because they're doing this. They're doing this.
Yeah.
Right. They're doing this. And you're like, why don't we enforce here, right? Texting and driving as a ticketable offense and enforce it consistently, because it's so pervasive, particularly in Dallas. And I mean, that goes through all economic stratospheres. I've seen, soccer moms and driving very nice high-end Mercedes,
vehicles,
Jaguars doing it. I see the guy driving a blue-collar pickup doing it. It's so pervasive here. And to me, that's what's frustrating. And it's even more frustrating when you're doing like what you did, when you're on the freeway outside of big towns, right?
Yeah.
So usually when you get outside of out of a city, it's 80 miles an hour. Most everybody's trying to keep up with that pace. A few people are driving the speed limit; they'll drive 70, and so you can manage around them. But in the same thing, when that traffic is flowing at 80 miles an hour, and you have the one knucklehead that's in either the center lane or the far left lane that is driving 65, and when you pass them, you kind of give them that, that mean stare, like, what the hell are you doing in that lane? Only to see them doing this, and it's so frustrating.
What were you going to say, RJ?
Well, I guess
You were gonna say something before your dad cut you off.
I guess more than anything, it's just frustrating because it's like people are never in the right lane, right? Like, so you get in the left lane and the person in front of you is going whatever the speed limit is instead of whatever the flow of traffic is. And then, I get it. Maybe you're not in a rush. Maybe you're trying to conserve gas. That's fine. And you're in the middle or the right lane, and there's the who's on your when you're just trying to drive a normal speed limit and you're not in the left lane.
Yeah.
And they're just going to some extent a ridiculous speed for no reason. And
Yeah, and that was kind of leading up to my fourth thing that I split it off is you non-Texas drivers and hell even some of you Texas drivers need to understand the left lane is for passing. There are signs posted just about every damn quarter of a mile that says left lane is for passing only.
Yeah.
And there's nothing more frustrating than getting behind the guy who thinks he needs to be the speed police, that will get in the left lane and just cruise at the speed limit. And then when you try to speed up to pass them, they speed up so you can't pass them. And then so, you get kind of, those are the kind of people that cause a lot of accidents too, man. You guys are just get in the damn middle lane and just do what you're going to do, man. And let the people who are going to pass you because it's ridiculous sometimes to.
Yeah, but unfortunately, and you're right. I agree with you 100%. But sometimes even when you're keeping up with the flow of traffic, you'll always get that jerk who wants to go 90, right? And he just, you see him coming, and you're trying to find that window to move over because you're gonna move over, and let him. And he's coming so hard on your tail, and then he's riding your back tailgate, and he says, well, I'm going to go around you. Well, just as you're getting ready to move out of that lane so he can, get past you, he jams you up, and then he gives you the mean look, and you're like, dude, I had my turn signal on. I was trying to get over to let you go by, but you think that you're running a NASCAR race here.
Exactly. And that's what I'm trying to get at is that, I feel like sometimes I'm in the middle of the road because I'm not trying to, not to incriminate myself or anything, but I'm not trying to go the speed limit necessarily either. But when I'm already going 80, 85 and you're on my tail, come on, buddy, slow down just a little bit because most of the, like, there's only very few highways in Texas where the speed limit is 80. And even at that, those are mostly tollways. Most of the highways that are a little more aggressive on the speed are 70. So if you're on my tail and I'm already going 80, 85, come on, man. Like,
there's a lot of stretches of, because we took, 35 down, going down to Galveston, Highway 10 going from Houston to, as we came back up from Galveston, had crossed through Houston, I-10 to get over to San Antonio. And then 45 coming up San Antonio through Austin back through here. And there are a lot of stretches of highway that are 75, when you get outside the really big towns that are 75. So if you get into a nice, comfortable zone of cruising 80, you're making good time, you're doing all right. But you still, it just seems to me that I always seem to run into that, that one dude who's going to, get into the passing lane and just kind of sit there at 65. And they just, they see you come in. And there's plenty of room for them to get over. There's plenty of time for them to get over, but they have no intention of getting over. They just sit there in that passing lane. And so you pass them and, they're just kind of, they look at you like, oh, I can't believe you're going so fast. Dude, it's 75 miles an hour. Come on, man. Can we at least do the speed limit if you're going to be in the passing lane? Because those are, they say that people who drive slow on highways cause more accidents than people who speed. And that's just, it's true. It's a dangerous proposition. So you guys that have never driven in Texas traffic before for a long weekend, you just moved here from Seattle, from Washington, from Utah, from wherever you're coming from, just know left lane is for passing.
And then you're in that very far left lane and you just feel like you need to be like I don't know if it was you, Uncle Jay, or my dad who said you feel like you need to be the speed police and the speed limit clearly says 70, so you can't go faster in that lane, then yeah, like get the on my lane. Like, pardon my cussing, but that's the reality of it. Like, who are you to tell me I need to slow down? Because really, I mean, as much as we make it sound like a joke here in Texas, the speed limit is a suggested speed, because there's plenty of times where there's other vehicles where, and even cops themselves are going past the speed limit. And
Oh
not
yeah,
just
dude,
like
I can't
not
tell
just
you
like
how
a
many.
little past the speed limit,
Yeah.
way past the speed, at least
I can tell you,
10.
man, how many cops that blew by me as I'm doing, 75, because I see the car coming and you speed down to the speed limit,
Mhm.
and they blow by you doing 85 without a care in the world. And so you just kind of follow them and go, okay, well, he's doing 85, I'll do 80, no big deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, that's my road trip rant, boys. I'm done.
But it's just people, they know how to game the system, meaning that they know that if they come to the very front of the line, they're going to find that little opportunity where they can squeeze themselves in. And anyway,
Well,
but
look,
let's
if you want to talk about people who can squeeze themselves in, let's talk about my boy Luca, because obviously at the time of filming right now, Mavericks are playing Game 3 of the playoff first round of the playoffs, but
In the business, we call that a segue.
yeah, exactly, because man, in that Game 2, he just had some shots that were incredible, and honestly, Dirk like. Obviously there's only one Dirk, and even if Luca, stays here for her entire career,
He's going to have to
and
bring a championship here in order to match Dirk.
no, and even if he brings multiple championships, I don't know that he'll ever be above Dirk, just because Dirk did it first, I guess is my point, and Dirk sacrificed her a lot, and even though Luca maybe one day. Who knows? But maybe
Like the
one day.
whole Roger Troy debate.
Yeah, exactly. Roger did it first, even though Troy won more and in a shorter amount of time. Roger did it first, and that's the thing about it, is that I don't know. For example, Mike, for whatever reason on Twitter, has a solid belief that he thinks Luca will leave, and I disagree. I really do. I think.
Well, I think whether Luca stays or not is going to be contingent upon
Well, we put around
Trying to help.
whether or not they're going to keep Carlisle.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, let's be honest. I mean, Luca is without a doubt a quality, high level talent. He is a superstar. But where I think, and maybe it'll come with time, but I think right now he still has a whole lot of immaturity about him.
Oh yeah, because he's still super young. See, that's the thing about Dirk. Dirk grew into his greatness.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a phenom coming in here at 19, 20, 21 that lit up the NBA. It took him good 5 or 6 years in the league before he became a stalwart, and before he became that you saw the traces of greatness that he was going to have. It took some time. Luca came in and he was just over it, man. He was just off and running from day one. And I got to say this, I know Mark Cuban doesn't watch our lowly little podcast, but Cuban, if you listen to me, there's no way that you can hope and pray that Luca is going to cut you the same kind of hometown deals that Dirk did, because Luca's going to cost you some money, Bubba. You're going to have to max him out. You just are, because, Dirk was gracious enough over the course of his career to take many pay cuts. I think the biggest contract that he ever signed was the 4-year, $80 million deal that he signed. And at $20 million a year, he was still a bargain, because you're talking about at that time, he's in the height of his career. We still hadn't got to our first championship yet. So he was still on the upside of that peak, and a future Hall of Famer, a guy who's in the 30,000 point club. I mean, there's so many accolades you can just drop on Dirk, and he was gracious enough to get. He loved the Mavericks so much that he gave Mark Cuban all kinds of discounts to try to build around him. I don't know that Luka's going to do those same kind of things, man.
I mean, look here. I can sit here and speculate a little bit. Obviously, we won't know till that time comes.
Yeah.
I think for sure he'll at least stay here through his first extension. Obviously the Mavs can give him the most money at that point because of bird rights. They drafted him, so they can give him the most money. Nobody's going to be able to really beat it. That's the reality of it. But we won't know till after that point whether he's going to leave. So they've at least got two contracts out of him, if you will. But like I said, this is all speculation. But the way that he pays loyalty to his previous clubs, I do think he will be to some extent a Dirk. I'm not saying he's going to take the pay cuts that Dirk will. I'm not saying anything like that, but I do think he will try to work with the Mavericks just because he's going to look at the fact that a lot of quite a few, 3 teams at least, had the chance to draft him and they said no. And who knows, honestly, who knows how far he would have fallen had the Mavericks not taken a chance because of the European history that we have here because of Dirk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because going into the draft, all you heard was, well, he didn't play in college. What does he know of what it's like to play against American talent? And look what he's doing now. I mean, there's no doubt he's a top 5 player. I mean, he didn't make the MVP cut this year, but I think next year you'll see him be in the MVP conversation.
Especially if the Mavericks have a better record. Mavericks ran into a lot of different
COVID issues.
COVID killed them. But the fact that
go ahead. I'll let you.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, just look how they finished. I mean, the fact that they finished with, I think it was like a 30 something and teen digit record to close the season out shows you the fact that had COVID not hit them early on in the season, we would have been a 3rd or 4th seed easily. Yeah. And, not to toot my own horn, because I do mean this legitimately, but I even told my dad, I think last week or at the beginning of the playoffs, when we were talking about the Mavericks a couple of weeks ago, I did say they were going to end up with the 5th seed, and that's what they did. Because, of course, I love this team, and, to some extent, I'm blinded by my fanatics of Dallas teams because, yes, every year I want the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl. But I did legitimately believe that the Mavericks were going to finish in 5th place, and they did. And had they not had that little, 2, 3, 4 weeks of COVID, I do think they would have finished as a 3rd or 4th seed. And he's just doing amazing things on his own in this playoffs. But the role players on our team, if we can keep Tim Hardaway has been playing amazing.
Yeah, that right now, Tim Hardaway Jr. is writing his own check, baby.
He is.
Because he's telling Mark Cuban right now, back up the dump truck, buddy, because if you want to keep me, this is what it's going to cost. And I think he's going to have the playoffs of his career just for that simple fact that, he's playing for a contract. And he's putting it all out there for people to say, because if Mark Cuban's not willing to put up or shut up with THJ, somebody's going to come snag him. I promise you, because he's a good. I mean, he just is.
No, he is. I'll admit that I generally don't get excited about basketball until playoff time, and so watching now the Mavericks and Luka and what they're capable of doing. It is an exciting time here in Dallas. But what I do wonder is, even though that the Mavericks can pay him more than anybody, if he's still not going to be tempted by going to a bigger market than Dallas, because he'll make more money on endorsements in a bigger market, and that might be something that he'll. But who knows? I mean, we're all just speculating. We don't know what's in Luka's heart. I don't know whether or not having Dirk as still kind of our ambassador around the world for the Mavericks calculates into anything. Luka may just say, "Look, unfortunately, a lot of young stars are just saying, hey, I'm going to go where I'm going to get the most money." Look at LeBron. I mean, as great as LeBron is, he showed Cleveland a little love, but at the end of the day, he wants championships and he wants money. And so it's not unreasonable to think that Luka is going to be of the same mindset, or any of these young stars, right? Yeah. They want to win, but they also want to get paid.
No, and you're right. I'm not suggesting that Luka or any young star take a pay cut, because ultimately, there's no guarantee how long you'll be in this business. The LeBrons of the world who have been, I mean, this is year 18 for him. He's an anomaly. That he's the exception to the rule. Most players do not play as long as LeBron, Dirk, Kobe played. That's just the reality of it. But so you got to make your money as long as, the gravy train runs for. You know what I meant. Sorry. Yeah. Gravy train runs for. But I do think to some extent the difference a little bit is that, and I know I'm a LeBron fan, so I'm a little bit biased, but I do think that the difference is LeBron was drafted into an ownership that really they cared about keeping costs at a minimum. And not that Mark is super, I'll just spend whatever it takes. But I do think he's more aggressive than what Cleveland's ownership was. And, yes, Dirk had to take some pay cuts, but the league has changed since then. That's the reality of it. I mean,
Dirk didn't have to take the pay cuts.
He didn't have to, but he chose to
take those pay cuts because he wanted to give the Mavericks the flexibility to bring in the kind of talent to help put together a championship team. And I think that, again, maybe we should probably stop with the comparisons between Dirk and Luka, because number one, they're two different people. They're two different types of players.
Two different positions.
And Dirk he truly is the anomaly, because you look at just about every big name that has come through here, save for, Michael Irvin and to some extent Troy Aikman. I don't know of other superstars that are kind of just loyal to a single team.
Mike Young.
What's that?
Mike Young.
Well, Mike Young. Yeah, Mike Young. Yeah. But even Mike Young, I think he would have.
He said superstar, RJ.
Damn. Hey, come on.
Man.
Look, don't get me wrong. He'll tell you I tear on Michael Young a little bit, but the honest truth is Michael Young is a class act. He is.
Hey, there's no doubt about that.
There's nobody who represented
the best.
No,
and you know what? That comment upsets me coming from you, Jay.
A baseball fan,
a baseball dude, and
and no, and I'm telling you that because he was Michael Young. Don't get me wrong, I love Michael Young. Michael Young was a fan favorite in Texas, always has been, and always will be. But Michael Young was a mediocre player at best, dude. He was. He had a couple of good seasons. He never had a great season. He never had a breakout season. He was a middle of the road player that got transitioned from position to position throughout his career for a reason. Because if he had been a superstar second baseman, he wouldn't have got moved. Had he been a superstar shortstop, he wouldn't have got moved. Had he been a superstar third baseman, he wouldn't have got moved. He accepted those transitions because that was what he was going to get. No other team was going to pay him more than what Texas was going to pay him, because Texas was going to keep him because he was a Texas player through and through, and he was management's player through and through, and he was the face of the franchise. But Michael Young, dude, I love Michael Young. Don't look at me like that, dude. I do. Michael Young was one of my favorite players of all time to wear a Texas Ranger uniform, right? It's him. It's Ruben Sierra, Juan Gonzalez, Pudge Rodriguez.
I didn't know they let mediocre players in the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame.
Well, of course he's going to get into the Texas Ranger Hall of Fame. Dude, come on, man. You knew that. Now let's see him get into the Pro Baseball Hall of Fame. Talk to me about that. Because he won't.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
Anyway, I'm off that. All right, boys. Well, I'm gonna get you guys off because I know RJ, you're eager to get in and watch the second half of the ball game. Go Mavs! Thanks, guys, for all the support you've given us. Again, if you want to check us out on YouTube, go ahead and click that bell. Hit the like and subscribe so you can get our notifications when new content comes out. Check us out on our audio formats: Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcast. Make sure to check out the social over at Facebook. Hit the Insta, a little TikTok, some Twitter, and don't forget Reddit. And if you're like me and you're a little bit lazy, go check out, now that you mentioned the .org, where RJ has conveniently placed links to all of those platforms, and where you can click that merch button, get you some merch. That way,
and Michael Young, even though this guy over here is a traitor to you, we
love you, Michael Young. Love you, Michael Young. Thanks to everybody for paying attention to us
you
tonight.
Might as well be a Houston Astros fan, as far as I'm concerned.
I think I saw him banging a trash can.
I know
the last time I was over at his house. Right.
Man. Thank you, Jesse P, for doing everything that you did, because I'm done with these jokers. Good night, boys.
Amen.
Night.
Night, boys.